Let me switch gears, though, and talk about another huge story that's broken just this afternoon as well. This military judge has acquitted the Army's Bradley Manning of the most serious count against him. So Bradley Manning not guilty of aiding the enemy. The judge convicted Manning of a number of lesser charges for the largest leak of U.S. secrets in history, in U.S. history, some 700,000 classified documents. He faces years in prison when he's sentenced. In a statement released moments after the verdict, WikiLeaks, the website Manning gave the information to, said, quote, Bradley Manning's convictions today included 5 counts of espionage, a very serious new precedent for supplying information to the press. Joining me now from New York is Jeffrey Toobin, CNN's senior legal analyst, and from Washington, journalist and Manning biographer, Denver Nix. So welcome to both of you. And Jeff Toobin, let me just begin here. Bottom line, what do you make of this verdict?
It strikes me as a very just verdict, and this was a terrible, terrible breach of national security. It was a tremendous betrayal of hardworking Foreign Service officers who put their lives on the line for the sake of the United States government and for world peace. And they were betrayed by what Bradley Manning did. I do think the charge of aiding the enemy was excessive, and the judge appropriately rejected it. But Bradley Manning is now proven a criminal, and he's going to go to jail for a long time, and that's what he deserves.
Denver, to you, as Bradley Manning's biographer, when Manning pleaded guilty earlier to 10 of the charges against him, he said he meant no harm to the government. He went on to say, quote, I believe that if the public was aware of the data, it would start a public debate on the wars. He's talking about the wars both in Iraq and Afghanistan. So, on the one hand, he was obviously conflicted about what was happening in Iraq, what was happening in Afghanistan. But Manning also seemed conflicted about his role and his treatment in the military. Tell me about that.
Well, there's no question that Bradley Manning acted as he did because he is idealistic and somewhat naive young man. He clearly leaked documents, as you said, about 750,000 documents, because he thought he was making the world a better place. There's no question about that. His role in the Army, much has been made about Bradley Manning being a conflicted soldier. I think there's some truth to that. On the other hand, lost in the kind of back and forth on that is that Bradley Manning was quite proud of his status as an intelligence analyst. I suspect he remains proud to be a soldier in the U.S. Army. And it's clear that for better or for worse, in acting as he did, he thought he was doing the right thing and did it for the same reasons that he joined the Army to begin with. He saw it as a patriotic act, in fact.
And Denver, I want to stay with you because, you talk about this sense of being conflicted. It's since come out that Manning had some discipline problems in the Army. Do you think, with everything that you've known and that you've written about, should alarm bells have been ringing before these leaks even happened?
Yes, alarm bells, in fact, were rung about Bradley Manning's security clearance. They just weren't listened to, you might say.
And Jeffrey Toobin, we know that Manning, he said no thank you to his case being heard by a jury. Do you think that turned out to be a good decision on his part?
It probably did. I mean, look, he was going to go to jail for a long time with or without a jury, and this was not a difficult case to prove. But, frankly, I'm not so worried or interested in his complex motivations. What he did was a horrendous crime, and the military was right to prosecute him. And, this sort of his psychological state, really, we don't care about, most criminals' psychological state, and I certainly don't care about his either.
Okay. Jeffrey Toobin, thank you very much. In Denver Nix, we appreciate you both coming on.